Now, President Xi Jinping's plans to make his first state visit to North Korea this week come as a surprise that could have various implications and potential outcomes. Let's get some experts' view. Live on the line for us for flash analysis is Sean King, Senior VP at New York-based Park Strategies and University of Notre Dame Liu Institute for Asia and Asian Affairs affiliated scholar. Sean, welcome to the program.
Good to be with you.
Now, so this is a very first visit to North Korea by President Xi, while North Korea's Kim Jong-un, of course, has traveled to China 4 times in the past 15 months. Up until now, Mr. Xi had been rather reluctant to reciprocate that visit, and the visit comes just 1 week before the G20 summit. What are you reading into this, Sean? I mean, how does this visit serve China's Xi, and what about the North, Kim?
These are very unusual times for Xi Jinping, and I think that the visit to North Korea, for whatever other reasons he may have for going, could also be a way for him to change the subject from the anti-extradition bill protests in Hong Kong this week. The fact that the bill has been shelved is a huge loss of face for Xi Jinping and Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam. And while people on the mainland are not seeing it because it's blocked out by censors, certainly any rivals that Xi has within the Communist Party or government may want to use this against him. Plus, on the world stage, it's what everyone's talking about. So by going to North Korea, it allows him to regain the initiative and get the topic of discussion off what's happening in Hong Kong. For Kim, as usual, China is his only real ally, if you even want to call it that. And he'd probably be looking for more sanctions relief or sanctions busting from Xi. And as Jesse Johnson in the Japan Times earlier today hinted at, don't rule out the possibility of a third meeting between Kim and Trump anytime soon, especially when you remember that Trump will be in South Korea next week. You know, every time that Kim has met with Trump, he always holds court with Xi first. So, you know, don't rule out the possibility that after he meets Moon Jae-in in Seoul, that Trump doesn't zip right up to Pyeongyang, which I think would be terrible for optics, and meet Kim, and maybe this is part of that. So anything's possible.
Right, a very interesting take there. So various factors playing into this visit. The announcement definitely took many by surprise, but, you know, in hindsight, there have been hints here and there that indicated that there had been a behind-the-scenes diplomacy between Beijing, Pyongyang, Washington, Moscow, and Seoul, despite the deadlock in Trump-Kim talks. Can we assume that there have been a flurry of diplomacy in recent weeks?
I would not assume that. No offense, but Seoul seems to be sidelined in this process. Tokyo is totally out of it. And from what I understand, President Trump's envoy on North Korea, Steve Biegun, can't even get his phone calls returned from his North Korean counterparts. However, we see Kim meeting Putin, Xi meeting Putin, and now Xi meeting Kim. So there is activity, but I think it's on the other side, sort of a coalescing of the unholy. So it seems like the bad guys are getting their act together and having diplomacy amongst themselves, but the rest of us are sort of left out.
Right. You briefly touched upon this, but how do we expect the summer diplomacy to play out from here on forth? I mean, would you say this is a prelude to another round of U.S.-North Korea talks that's looming ahead in the near future?
It could definitely be a prelude to another round of North Korea talks. And given that Trump likes to talk about his relationship or his love affair with Kim Jong-un so much, I do expect him to find some way to have another summit with Kim before the election, just so he can draw a contrast between himself and previous U.S. presidents. So I do expect another Kim-Trump meeting before November 2020. Whether or not it'll be next week, I don't know, and this could be a prelude to that. Either way, unrelated, I do expect Xi and Trump to meet in Osaka next week. It would just be kind of childish for them both to be there and not meet. And I think that people overinterpret what the trade war might mean for Beijing's position on the Korean Peninsula. Xi Jinping can chew gum and walk at the same time. And I think that whatever hit he's taking on the trade war, North Korea is a much bigger concern to him. So even if we were getting along great on trade, he would still be doing what he's doing on North Korea. So I don't really conflate the two the way other people do. I think Xi sees one as economics, the other security, and no pun intended, security trumps economics.
Well, a very interesting take there, very unique. Now, last but not least, very briefly, Sean, VOA reported earlier this week that North Korea's Kim Jong-un told his generals and senior military officials ahead of his second summit with the U.S. president that his ultimate goal is to elevate the North's status as a global nuclear-capable state. How reliable is this?
Well, of course, I have no idea to know what Kim Jong-un is telling anybody. If I did, who knows, I may get shot or end up in a labor camp. But based on his actions, this seems pretty credible. Since the Singapore summit, where he did not promise to denuclearize, rather he had this phony commitment of complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula, which means first an end to the U.S. presence on the peninsula. Then maybe he'll denuclearize, but it's all, a bunch of garbage as I see it. He has not dismantled a single missile, a single rocket launcher. He's testing short-range missiles again. And Korea Jong-un Daily reports today that he's built 10 more nukes in the last year. So, what he said to his generals, I don't know, but this seems totally in line with his actions to date. So I have no reason to dispute it.
Well, absolutely. Everything is there for us to be watched and seen and observed. Sean King, Senior VP at Park Strategies, many thanks for sharing your insights today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.